This is going to be a really, really interesting topic. We're talking about meltdowns. Give me a meltdown if you've ever experienced one with your child. And I think all ages, even little ones, like when we say meltdown, sometimes we're thinking of toddlers, but can happen into those tween years, even still. So, this is the topic for today. My name is Dale Ecuyer, and I have a really special guest. This woman is a wealth of knowledge, especially if you have children with special needs. Her name is Ashley Becker. She's a parent coach and occupational therapist with lots of experience with kids with sensory issues and things. So, thank you so much for being with me here today. I know this is going to be really valuable. So let's first identify like what your definition is of a meltdown and then how to understand it from the
Sure.
child's point of view.
Right. Well, when we think about children with meltdowns, we're thinking about the kids that are living with us in home. And even young adults will have meltdowns. I mean, even I can have a mini meltdown. And it's just when we are flooded with emotions and we don't know in the moment how to calm our bodies down with regulation strategies. And what we want to do is consider what's happening in the environment that may trigger that response. So, considering Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've got to consider all factors of the whole child, right? You have to consider the diet, you need to consider the environment, making sure that these basic needs are met. And that way, when we begin with the foundational aspects, we can problem solve and figure out why are these meltdowns happening? What can we do in the moment? And then in the future, prevent them from happening. So we decode and understand the trigger that creates that meltdown.
Definitely the external environment. And I would add sleep. Has this child had good sleep? Is the child hydrated? I know you mentioned nutrition and environment and all that. So all those are super important. Now, what's the next step? What do we do about it when it's happening
Right,
in the moment?
right.
How do we regulate ourselves so that we can help to regulate and mitigate the meltdown?
Yeah, and Dale, that's it, is that when we show up regulated as parents, our children will see that and model that. So we are our kids' main model, their coach. We teach and show them based on how we respond to stimulus, to stressors. People are overwhelmed.
Mm,
Parents are so stressed.
yeah.
We have been challenged in ways that we've never seen before. This is a remarkable time, a time that will be
Mm,
forever in our minds. And so when we consider all of these external factors that are impeding our emotional health, all aspects of well being, because
mm,
when we're not taking care of ourselves, we're not sleeping right, we're not eating right, we're not staying hydrated. And if we're
mm.
not doing that and showing our kids those basics, then they will also feel those struggles. They will feel anxious. They will have behavioral problems. And when a child is struggling, because they're not getting these needs met, then we see the meltdowns happening. So, as long as the parents are first starting with themselves, it's the whole oxygen mask analogy,
Yeah.
as long
Yeah.
as we are able to take care of ourselves first, having some self compassion, practice self care, whatever that looks like, it can simply be just 5 minutes in the morning before your child arises from bed, and just
Mhm.
spend that time just in reflection for the day that you hope to see. You can be mindful in terms of just sitting with a warm cup of chamomile, or if you're a coffee drinker like myself, having a cup of coffee and just being very present. Notice the smells, notice the temperature in the room, notice what you see in your environment. When you tap into your senses, it allows you to be in the moment. So when we're in the moment and practice those little bits of mindfulness throughout the day, we're showing our kids how to be more mindful, how to be reflective, how to slow down and simplify. And when they
Mhm.
feel more in the moment, that's the opposite of feeling rushed. That's the opposite of feeling anxious. So, as long as we hold that space for ourselves, we're creating that environment for our child in order to succeed. The more we do this, the more connected we feel. When we feel connected to another human being in that relationship, we want to listen, we want to bond, we want to be at our best. contagious. When we feel good, our kids feel good. When our kids feel good, we feel good.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about, because I know parents that are watching, they're like, okay, that's all sounds great. And I can try to start implementing that. But for like today, when my kid's screaming on the floor, like what's my best tool other than trying to calm myself? What are the words that I can use that might help that child?
Yeah, great question. A lot of parents are thinking, okay, yeah, great ideas and great tips, but what if my kid is having a meltdown putting their socks or shoes on and we have to rush out the door to get to the
Right.
school bus, right? I mean, we can
Yeah.
relate to these stories. And I hear this all the time. Help, my kids hates to wear socks and they just have a meltdown. And I've
Yeah.
seen this. I've worked with so many kids who will flop their bodies on the floor and have a major meltdown. And so, what you do in those moments, first of all, if you start to see what may look like the signs and symptoms of a meltdown coming on, okay, your child
Mm,
may get quiet. Or
mhm.
maybe your child will start to talk more. Maybe your child will start pacing. Notice how they're holding their bodies. Do they look tense? So start to see the signs that
Right.
arise
Mhm.
as a meltdown may be occurring. And then just take an inventory, just remind yourself of what that looks like, because that will help you in the future, preventing meltdowns from happening. But in the moment, what I recommend for parents is to get close, even though it is so uncomfortable. Even though it is one of the most triggering responses to see our child have a meltdown, it is so hard for parents to stay present and to stay there with the child. And you don't have to say much. You just keep it simple. You can remind them, I'm here when you're ready. When you're calm, I am here for you. And just be very neutral in your tone. You want to take some deep breaths. I do the stop, drop, and breathe method, which is from the great Laura Markham. Dr. Laura Markham is a parent expert and psychologist. But what you do in the moment is you first stop, don't say anything, drop the agenda. Okay. So whatever you were wanting to do, get the socks on and, rush out the door to catch the bus, drop the agenda, forget the socks. What you can do then is just take some deep breaths. It usually takes about 90 seconds for a big emotion to slowly fade. Be present. And then when your child is calm and ready, then you can come in close, see if they want to hug. You want to make sure that you are coming close again after a meltdown, that you are there for them, that they are supported, that they are loved no matter what. So, again, just to recap, be
Mm.
very concise with the words, say very little. Okay. You don't want to contribute to the overwhelm that they're in. Just show them that you're there and that you love them. Reassure them, I am here for you when you're ready. I see you're upset and that's okay. I will be here when you're ready. But you don't want to rush them through it. I grew up in the 80s, and what I had
Mhm.
heard growing up is, oh, just knock it off, get over it. We didn't learn
Not
how to
that
understand our emotions as they
right.
came, right? We were told to just sweep it under the rug. And so
Mhm.
now in my practice, I am able to reflect on these experiences. And it's probably from not having that when I was growing up that I've now practiced this enough that I feel confident knowing what to do. And I've helped so many families and so many kids, especially kids with behavioral challenges, how to move through a meltdown, the whole crisis phase, right? We think about what the start of it looks like, up to the peak of the crisis and the meltdown, and then helping them come back down. So those are the stages, right? But we really want to make sure that we're coming in after you see the signs and symptoms. You're keyed on that. You know how your child is because you've been watching and learning, observing.
Mhm.
Be a detective and see what's coming up for your child as they start to increase in their challenging behaviors. And then that's when you want to go in and really show your child that you are there, that you support them no matter what, that they are loved.
This is so good. And I think like, I think the thing that really struck me in listening to this is looking for the signs, and we talked about the external environment, making sure that they're rested and fed and hydrated and warm enough or cold, cool enough, whatever. But then also to recognize what are the things that they're doing that you can identify and say, ooh, they're starting to get agitated here. Like maybe they're pacing, or maybe they are, or what some of the other signs that you said to look for, whether they're pacing or talking more or talking less,
Right. Their
right?
body, how they're moving, how their speech pattern.
Yeah, it's so I
Hmm.
that's really interesting. That's super interesting because it's probably very the same each time, pretty much, right? I would think once they start
Right.
acting that way, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
would I would have never thought to like identify that,
We're
like to
creatures of habit.
really, yeah, just like to really take note of that, like even writing it down so you remember. Oh yeah, when so and so starts to do this behavior, I know that he's on the edge there and I need to like get it before it gets over the edge, before it goes over the edge, right? That's
Yes,
so
so
good.
true. Yeah,
So
and there
good.
are even inventory sheets out there, and it's just simply just what leads to the behavior is the antecedent. And so you just mark down afterward, having a log. And this is what I do with my parent clients. They log so that way they're tracking the behaviors. And when you
Mhm.
know and you understand, then you can help your child and work to eliminate those challenging behaviors, work to eliminate those meltdowns from happening. And you can also use words to help guide them before you get to the peak, the crisis.
Mhm.
Start having a conversation. Again, very, very concise, few words, but I see that you're tightening your fists. I see that you've gotten quiet, or I've noticed that you are jumping off the table more than usual. Whatever the behavior is,
Mhm.
say it out loud so that way they too can begin to understand what that looks
Yeah.
like. And they can begin to understand, oh, okay, so this is what happens when I'm not feeling good. This is how it looks. This is how I feel. So they are becoming more emotionally aware of those meltdowns themselves, because that empowers them when they understand where their meltdowns
Mhm.
are happening, why they're happening.
Yeah.
Then, when they understand, they're able to prepare and, with your guidance, move through
Mhm.
that cycle.
Let's talk about this with an older child, not when you're in the thick of it. Is how could we have done this a little bit differently? How could we have gotten,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like,
Again, you always want to come back, swing around, have that conversation in a loving way, not in a shameful,
yeah,
way of telling them that that's wrong. What you did is wrong. You're naughty. Definitely not using words like that, but more of just being there and asking them questions like, what was going on for you? It
right,
looked like
right.
it was really hard. Yeah, I get it. I understand. I know it's hard sometimes, but I'm here for you and I love you no matter what.
Yeah, I
What
love
can
it.
we do next time? What can we do? How can we handle this next time? When you start to feel XYZ, what can we do? How can I support you? So you're coming in with more loving communication. And when you come in with more loving communication, they're more willing to talk with you and have that conversation with you, especially the older ones.
Yes, yes, I love it. This is so good. This is so good.
So
Okay,
important.
yes, yes. So, and what a difference in the relationship it will be, and so much calmer in the household, right? Once you get this.
Right.
And then always like going back and evaluating, and you may see some similarities in when these events happened, like what was going on. Oh, yeah, right. We were rushing out the door. So maybe we need to give ourselves a little more time so that we don't have this massive like rush. Because I think that's oftentimes when it happens, right? Like you're trying to hurry up, and then 9 times out of 10, then they're not in the fast mode. You know what I mean? Kids are kind of like in the slow mode, and we're like trying to get everything done, rushing around. So it's like
So, so true. And it's
it's
beautiful. They're more in the moment. Their
yes,
creative
yeah,
minds are just so present with what they're doing. And all of a sudden, we have to rip them from whatever they're doing. Time to
yeah.
go, hurry up. And it's like, whoa,
Mhm.
wait, what? And so that's why transitions are so hard for kiddos. They need time to
Yeah,
think, to prepare, to plan. It takes them a little extra time. They're not on parent time, they're not on our work schedules.
right, right. I
Oh,
love
and
it.
I wanted to mention, Dale, so after the meltdown, right? The child is calm, you have taken care of yourself, a lot of self compassion to the parents because you also need it after your child has had a meltdown. When everyone is calm, come back swing around, have that conversation, and then fill their bucket throughout the rest of the day because they're going to feel lousy. It doesn't feel good to have a meltdown. You're going to be tired. You'll probably see your child maybe even needing a nap afterward. But I love Dr. John Gottman's work. He has this relationship ratio, the 5-to-1, for every incident, negative, interaction. You want to fill it with 5 positives afterward. So how can you plant those positive seeds throughout the rest of the day? Because that will allow closeness. And when you feel close and connected to another human being, you feel supported. When you feel supported and loved, you're more likely to feel confident and good. And you want to do good when you are feeling good.
Bingo. That's it. Yep. Absolutely. Fill the cup. Yeah, we tend to ignore the good stuff, pointing out the good stuff and always pointing out the not so good stuff. So yeah, I love that 1-to-5 ratio. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with me. I so appreciate it. And we will definitely put the information in the comments so that you can find this incredible workshop.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks
Take care, everyone.